Hey, welcome. This is part 5 on our series on constructive feedback, uh, starting to evolve into wow, people suck at giving feedback, and here's some ways you can get better at it. But we're going to go over feedback about creativity here, and this comes from a list on Valamis.com. And this is a company that specializes in learning programs and provides leadership training. And we're just going through their list of examples of good and bad feedback and looking for 4 specific pieces: pain, consequences, expectations, and ideas that are really good building blocks for constructive feedback. This is going to be about creativity, which is really interesting and touchy topic. I normally don't read ahead, but I read ahead on this one, and I am just uh, we'll get to it. I just don't like this example of the feedback. So without further ado, here's feedback about creativity. I'm going to read the appropriate positive and the appropriate negative examples, and then we'll get to the inappropriate negative example. Again, we're looking for those 4 things that are right above me: pain, consequences, expectation, and ideas that are good building blocks for positive feedback. Or excuse me, for constructive feedback, positive or negative. In fact, a lot of positive miss these more than others. All right, so first, the positive example. You are very innovative in the way you work. The creative solutions you have shared with the team are invaluable and will save the company time and money in the future. Anybody else think that sounds like a fortune cookie? Because it kind of does. Anyways, so we're looking for pain, right? Innovative in where you work. The creative solutions you share with the team are valuable. So the solution to pain is the innovation. That's great. The consequences: are you saving the team, the company time and money? The expectation is clear in here that you're going to use your ideas to try and help the team. It doesn't present any ideas for being able to build upon that, but that's okay. Most positive feedback doesn't, and a lot of times it's just continue being you. Although it would be nice if they had some good ideas in there. Okay, so the second example here is negative. I've noticed that you're getting stuck on tasks recently. Don't be afraid to get creative with ideas to help you get the work done. Great. So here's the pain, which is really interesting thing because it's not really about creativity. It's more about people getting stuck on a task. Um, but we'll roll with it. But the pain is you're stuck on a task. It doesn't say the consequences. The consequences could be that means you're not getting other tasks done as quickly as we'd like, right? It'd be nice to hear the consequences associated with that pain. The expectations are also not quite there. We expect you to be able to complete these in a timing manner, something like that. It does have the idea though, which is great, and this idea is actually really good. Don't be afraid to get creative with the ideas to get your work done. Right? It provides an idea which is more or less licensed, and actually, I take it back. It does really talk about expectations as well as we kind of expect you to be able to work through some of these things with some ideas, and to get creative around these type of things. So it does have the expectation ideas, maybe just not the consequences as well. But overall, not the worst feedback. Although I don't think it's actually giving feedback about what it thinks it's giving. If you think you're giving feedback about how creative you're being here or your creativity, really what it sounds like is you're giving feedback on them getting stuck on a task, and needing to move on or needing to find ways around getting stuck. So an interesting thing that it doesn't quite give feedback on a thing it says it's giving feedback on, but oh well. So now the inappropriate negative example. Um, there are rules set out for a reason, and you should be following them. You aren't paid to think; you're paid to work. So keep your ideas to yourself. Um, Listen, if you're getting this feedback, go find another job. Any job that tells you you're not paid to think is not a job worth working at. What that tells me is an organization is dying. As soon as you're not willing to listen to the people that you're working with, that you're serving, that you're working together with, your clients, your patients, your employees, your whoever it is, right? As soon as you think your ideas are all that matter as an organization, and the way you've set about doing things is all that can happen, and that people just need to be cogs in a machine, you're toast. It may take years, it may take decades, it may take centuries for companies to fall. But as soon as we stop thinking collectively, we stop innovating, we stop growing, and we die. And so I know this is supposed to be about feedback, but truthfully, this is what this group is saying here with this example of negative feedback is we don't want your feedback. We don't want your brain. We don't want you. We want you to feel a cog in a machine, and go find something else. And that's actually an important thing to think about with this feedback, right? I know we've been looking for pain, consequences, expectation, and ideas. This is clearly expectations, and it's really something to kind of think about as you look at feedback, and you get feedback in a peer review, in an employee review, in an annual review. You get feedback from clients, patients, whatever. There is such a thing as inappropriate expectations. And one of the clearest things you're going to be able to see with an employee, excuse me, an employer, and I mean, even with your employees, sometimes the feedback they give, those type of things, you can have inappropriate expectations. Um, I think about the groups that we work with, often shelters for those that are experiencing homelessness, mental behavioral health facilities. Sometimes the feedback that they get is clearly um, has inappropriate expectations. The expectation when you go to a shelter isn't that all of your life problems are going to be solved. It's that you're going to have a warm place to sleep and probably a hot meal. And the people that expect just cash handouts or something like that are having inappropriate expectations. And you, when you're getting this feedback, you have to be able to understand and differentiate between when is this feedback that I can act on and when is it just straight inappropriate. And while this is an example of giving inappropriate feedback, and it is a great example of inappropriate feedback, what it really tells me is this is not an organization that I would want to continue to work for, and I need to be able to reset these expectations. It's either I go find something else and find a better situation, or I find a way to reset these expectations. Now, if I'm servicing clients or patients or whatever that don't have another place to go and they have inappropriate expectations, it really is a clear example to me that I'm going to need to expectations set right at the beginning. Is a really key of any project management is setting those expectations. And in a lot of regards, when you're a social service provider or otherwise, each individual person you work with is a mini task in project management, and you really need to be able to set those expectations at the beginning of here's what I can help you with, here's what I can't. And so then their feedback is well, not always going to be. Just because you set those expectations doesn't mean they don't have preconceived ones they're going to be going off of. But at least it gives you a good starting point, and so that feedback can oftentimes just get better in that regard. So, rough example of feedback here. Rough example because I wasn't really talking about people's creativity. Rough example because as soon as you are breaking down and say, hey, what it sounds like you're saying here is we don't want you to be creative. Um, we don't want your mind. We don't want you thinking. That's just a bad situation all around. So I know we're looking for these four things: the pain, consequences, expectation, ideas. In this place, my idea is go find another place to work. Is if this is the feedback that you're getting.